We simply want to solve this equation for x. So when it says solve here, we're going to assume that we're solving for the variable in the problem. So we'll say solve for x. If you look very carefully at this problem, you see that there are two square roots, one on the left-hand side of the equation and one on the right-hand side of the equation. In order to get to the x to solve it, we need to peel away those square roots. And the only way to do that is by squaring both sides. Notice, however, that when I square the left-hand side, we notice that there is a plus 1. That means that this right here is a binomial squared. And you can use one of two methods. We're going to use the FOIL method, but you could also use the fact that a plus b quantity squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So we'll take this binomial, the square root of negative 3x plus 4 plus 1, and we're going to multiply it by itself since we're squaring it. Using the FOIL method, we're going to multiply our first terms together, and that will be the square root of negative 3x plus 4. And I'm just going to simply write it as quantity squared since I'm multiplying the two together. Then we will multiply our outside terms, which is going to be 1 times the square root of negative 3x plus 4. Then we will multiply the inside terms, which will also be 1 times the square root of negative 3x plus 4. And then lastly, we will multiply the last terms, which is simply going to be plus 1 times 1, or 1 squared. So let's write that as 1 squared, so we can keep the same convention that we started with at the beginning. And now simplify this. This simply becomes negative 3x plus 4. This becomes, when I look at both of these, we're going to take this value, or this expression, and add it to this expression, which will give me plus 2 times the square root of negative 3x plus 4, plus 1, because I want to take care of this value right here. So now that's what's on the left-hand side. I can go ahead and do a little bit of... So you need to remember that we will add this 4 that's over here with 1. We'll end up with plus 5. Now, I want to move everything away from the radical sign so that I can then square that. So in order to do that, I will go ahead and add 3x to both sides of this equation. Simultaneous to that, I will go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides. That way I can simplify this and end up simply with 2 times the square root of negative 3x plus 4 on the left-hand side. And that will be equal to negative 2x plus 4 on the right-hand side. Once again, we'll go ahead and continue our simplification. We'll divide both sides of this by 2, which will give me the square root of negative 3x plus 4 is equal to negative x plus 2. Now, in order to solve this, I need to go ahead and square both sides once again. If I square both sides, I should be where I need to be. So this gives me a negative 3x plus 4 on the left-hand side. So that means on the right-hand side, where I have also squared this, I'm going to use the fact that a plus b quantity squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So this is equal to, I'm going to have a negative x because that's my a squared plus 2 times a negative x times another 2. And then I'm going to square the 2 and have 2 quantity squared. So I now have negative 3x plus 4 is equal to x squared minus 4x plus 4. We go ahead and add 3x to both sides. Simultaneously, we will go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides. Since this is a quadratic and I need to go ahead and set the quadratic portion equal to 0 in order to solve for x. Now, when I look at this side just simply goes away and I'm left with 0. And that will be equal to x squared minus x. And this adds to 0, so I don't need to worry about it. Now, to solve for x, I see that x squared minus x factors into x times x minus 1. Since this is a quadratic, I will take each individual factor and set them equal to 0 and solve for x. So I have x equals 1 and x equals 0 as my roots for this problem. So that means that I could simply write the solution set as 0, 1.